Hello, welcome back, Recapped Mystery here. Today, I'm going to explain an Italian fantasy superhero film called The Invisible Boy. Watch out and take care. At the start of the film, we observe a little child named Michele Silenzia pedaling to school in Trieste, Italy. He has a €5 note and intends to use it to purchase a costume for a party. He sits behind his longtime crush, Stella. In school, a police officer named Giovanna, who also happens to be Michele's mother, interrupts their class. She has come to ask about the disappearance of a student. Giovanna asks that the class notify the authorities if they hear from the missing pupil. Michele's nose begins to bleed after she departs, so he dashes to the toilet. His bullies, who have been bothering him for a long time, threaten to take all of his money. He returns home. Disappointed by the encounter, he takes out a few pennies he had saved and chooses to purchase one with the money. Michele then goes to a rundown boutique and begs for a superhero suit. The merchant hands him a skin-tight overall and an ill-fitting cloak. He believes it is the costume of a Chinese superhero. Michele does not appear to like the costume, but she purchases it regardless. When Giovanna gets home from work, she sees Michele dressed up and refusing to attend the party because he believes he looks ridiculous. She tells him he looks fantastic and sends him to the party. Michele has a good time there and even talks to his crush Stella, but then his bullies show him a video of Stella strolling down the street. According to them, the video was discovered on Michele's phone, and he has been monitoring Stella. Michele rushes to the toilet and locks himself inside. Outside, all of his students knock on the door, pleading with him to open it. Michele is irritated and wishes he could be invisible just before the lights go out. In the next shot, we watch him climb out of the bathroom window and return home. Michele awakens the next morning to his dog screaming at him. He pays him little attention and goes to the toilet to brush his teeth. Michele is astounded to see only his robe and the brush when he looks in the mirror. In the mirror, his body is completely invisible. Michele rushes out and removes his robe. Just then, his mother enters and utterly overlooks the youngster, demonstrating that only Michele can see himself. When she begins to check around, Michele quickly writes on a piece of paper that he has left for school early and places it on the bed. Giovanna reads it and dismisses it. She contacts Michele on his phone after leaving the room. Michele, who is invisible, picks it up and tells her that he is alright. He dresses up in long-sleeved garments, unsure of what to do next. He goes to school after covering every part of his body and observes Stella from a distance. Michele then discovers his aggressor and decides to punish him for bothering him so much. He removes his clothing and comes inside the school naked and unnoticed. During class, he takes the bully's paintball gun and attacks the teacher, causing the teacher to suspend the bully. Then Michele goes to the girls' changing room and observes them undress. Suddenly, a towel lands on him, revealing his silhouette to all. Right then, his powers begin to wane, revealing him once more. The girls gasp as they notice Michele naked behind the towel. The next day, Michele is in his class, where a psychologist named Basile is speaking on adolescent mental health. Two of Michele's classmates have run away from home in the last month, therefore he believes it is critical to understand the minds of teenagers. Michele's hands begin to glow as he listens to the lesson, and then they vanish. Fortunately, the class is ended, and he hurries out before anyone notices him. He hurries home, covering his entire body, and finds his little sister Candela in his room. Michele instructs her to proceed downstairs while facing the wall. Candela opens and closes the door to give the impression that she has departed. Michele does not turn back to look and begins to remove his garments. Candela screams in terror as he turns around, realizing her sibling is no longer visible. Michele reassures her by telling her that his costume has given him superpowers. Meanwhile, at the police station, the psychiatrist Basile collaborates with Giovanna to investigate the disappearances of the children. Giovanna believes the children have been kidnapped, but Basile claims they are simply being disobedient, which is common for their age. Michele is still missing when Giovanna arrives home. Giovanna answers the phone and reveals that Michele is adopted. Michele walks out of the house, astonished and hurt, to a nearby swing. Stella enters as he is swinging and believes Michele is a ghost. She appears unafraid and instead wants him to be her buddy. To communicate with her, He draws a smile on the sand. They agree to meet again. After Stella has left, Michele notices a man nearby staring at him, despite the fact that he is invisible. The man goes away with a stick, demonstrating that he is legally blind. Michele pays a visit to Stella's house at night. Stella is overjoyed to have made an invisible companion. When the two kiss, Michele's powers begin to diminish. He flees before Stella can see his face. Later, Stella is alone in her gymnastics lesson when a needle pierces her back. It renders her unconscious. Michele, on the other hand, has decided to tell Stella about him being the invisible boy. With his dog, he walks to her gymnastics class. When he arrives at the building, he notices a masked man taking Stella. Michele charges at the man, and the dog bites his hand. The male, though, manages to flee with the girl. The police eventually arrive on the scene. They believe the missing youngsters were kidnapped rather than abducted. Stella awakens in an odd facility, her head hooked to various wires. Basile, a psychiatrist, is questioning her. He comes out to be the one who has been abducting the children. They do certain tests on the girl and confine her in a cell. Two of her friends who went missing before her are also present. The next day, Michele is alone at a local beach when the blind man from the day before appears in front of him. All of Michele's inquiries are answered before he can ask them. It's as if he can read people's minds. When Michele asks who he is, he discloses his name is Andridge and that he is Michele's father. Andridge is not believed by the boy, who accuses him of lying. Andridge then starts telling his story. He was a normal man from a tiny town in Russia until a horrific nuclear bomb struck. The radiation killed several people and permanently altered others. It caused their DNA to alter, giving them unique superhuman skills such as flying, telepathy, and invisibility. These people were dubbed specials, and they were taken to a military camp known as the Division to be used as weapons. They were overworked by the Division. The more specialties utilized, the weaker they were. Another unintended consequence was that everyone, with the exception of Andridge and Michele's mother, was sterile. It was therefore impossible to breed fresh specialities. Michele, the first special child, was born to the couple, but they whisked him away as soon as he was born. As a result, the parents resolved to flee with Michele and were successful. But the Division's members were not going to back down. They pursued the couple in order to recover the child. Michele's father has the ability to read people's minds, while his mother possessed the ability to be invisible. Andridge was able to flee with Michele, but his wife was killed by the Division. Andridge knew Michele wasn't secure with him, so after reading her mind and ensuring she was a good person, he placed him in front of Giovanna's door. The Division's residents had discovered that the unusual child lives in town, so they kidnap children and experiment on them to discover whether they are special. Michele is taken aback after learning about his true origins. He nearly doesn't believe it, but Andridge adds they don't have much time to chat since the fisherman next to them suspects Andridge and has contacted the police. Andridge delivers Michele a costume that, along with his body, becomes invisible. He then erases the fisherman's memories and departs. Basile and the police arrive shortly after. Giovanna informs him that Michele is adopted, leading Basile to feel that he is the special child. He offers to take Michele home with him. When they go home, Michele finds Basile's hand injury, which is exactly where his dog bit Stella's kidnapper. He glances at the man suspiciously and tries to flee. Basile, it turns out, has locked all the doors and is intending to kidnap him. Michele rushes into a room and removes his clothes, becoming invisible. He manages to flee while Basile pursues him. Michele notices his bully Ivan on his bike when they are walking down the street. He sits behind him and requests that he drive away soon. Ivan, who is nervous, agrees. When they get at a safe location, Michele reveals himself to Ivan and tells him about their classmates' kidnapping. Stella and her companions, meantime, notice ventilation on the ceiling. Stella manages to step outdoors after they climb on each other. She climbs tower to reach a searching light while hiding from guards. She forms a smiling face on the light and flashes it up to the sky, believing that her invisible buddy is looking for her. Michele notices the smiling face and realizes Stella is teasing them. He and Ivan follow the light, but Stella is captured by the guards as soon as they arrive. As an invisible Michele enters, Ivan triggers an electric malfunction with his paintball gun. He notices Vasily and his men keeping an eye on Giovanna and Andrzej, who have joined forces to find Michele. He then goes deeper inside and knocks out a guard. He threatens the other guard with his gun to open the cell where Stella and the others are imprisoned. After rescuing them and keeping the guards inside, Michele reveals himself to his pals, who are taken aback. The lads want to flee, but Stella demands that they save an elderly man who she saw confined in another room. She and Michele try to save the victim, but Stella instead takes him to the criminals and puts a gun at Michele. She falls unconscious, and the old man behind her begins to speak. He finds out to have mind control abilities. He has been directing Vasily and Stella to bring Michele here. He then brings a submarine down and places Michele and Stella inside. The two are thrown into the sea by the men. Just then, Andrzej and Giovanna arrive and run into Ivan. The building has been programmed to explode in a matter of seconds. They rapidly rescue the two kidnapped children and Vasily from inside. Andrzej reads Vasily's mind and recognizes that he is being controlled by someone. They flee the structure, which explodes in pieces shortly afterwards. Michele learns his telekinesis ability and begins destroying the submarine. Using his abilities, he kills the men and saves himself and Stella. They eventually return to the shore, where a large crowd awaits them. Michele becomes invisible in front of them, displaying his power. Andrzej informs Michele that they must erase everyone's memories because the division would be hunting for them again. Michele agrees and kisses Stella one last time. Andrzej promises to return and departs after deleting everyone's memory. Everyone then returns to their regular lives. The scenario shifts to a location in Russia. Michele's mother, who was supposed to be dead, was only slightly injured in the incident. She defeated the division at the time and now rules over it. In truth, she was the one who dispatched those individuals to return Michele to her. The woman is now opposed to all normal individuals who regard them as freaks. Finally, a guard informs her that, while they have lost Michele, they have discovered his twin sister Natasha. Andrzej ran away with two youngsters that day. According to a flashback, the film concludes with the guard informing Michele's mother that Natasha is somewhere in Morocco, implying a sequel. Please subscribe to assist the channel, turn on notification and leave a like. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you again soon.